Smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration, bro. Ace had that money on his head, you know, Ace had him put that 10K up, told me to slide.
Yungeen Ace just broke down in court after new footage tied him directly to the crime scene. And honestly, ain't nobody in the street surprised. People have been saying he was involved since day one. I'm the one that smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration. Bro, Ace had that money on his head. You know, Ace had put that 10K up. Told me to slide. In this video, I'll break down what the footage shows and what this could mean for young Ace. Foolio's murder. Theo's killers aren't just unremorseful. They're making a mockery of his death. Not long ago, one of them, Isaiah Chance, was caught on camera in court casually booping his head to "Who I Smoke?" The viral Yungeen Ace diss track that taunts Foolio and his entire crew. That moment was already disturbing enough. But what happened recently in court crossed into something far darker. Before we unpack the twisted courtroom behavior and heartless message they just delivered, we need to rewind to the night that sealed Theo's fate. June 23, 2024. Theo was supposed to be celebrating. The 26-year-old rapper had planned to mark his birthday in Tampa, Florida, far from the violent streets of Jacksonville that had claimed so many of his friends and family members. He had achieved something that most young men from his neighborhood never would. Legitimate success in the music industry, millions of streams, and the financial means to enjoy life beyond the projects. But the past has a way of catching up, and the deadly feud that had defined his career was about to claim its most high-profile victim. However, what transpired in the early morning hours of June 24 was not something he had expected. While celebrating his birthday, Foolio, aka Charles Jones, made several posts on his social media revealing his location several times throughout that night. This seemingly innocent act of sharing his celebration with fans would prove to be a fatal mistake, providing his enemies with real-time intelligence about his whereabouts. Jones was in town celebrating his birthday and posted on his social media his location several times throughout that night. Surveillance video was critical in this investigation as suspects were seen on video following Jones from location to location. The killers had come prepared. 5 suspects would eventually be arrested in connection with the murder. Isaiah Chance, Elisa Andrews, Sean Gethright, Devon Murphy, and Richard Murphy are all accused of playing a role in Jones's death. But this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. The evidence would later reveal a level of premeditation that shocked even experienced homicide detectives. An investigation revealed further chilling details, such as the suspects' planning. The killers used their mother's car, had an Airbnb 1 mile from the murder scene, and used their own cell phones, describing the case as a layup for prosecutors due to the evidence. The level of planning and coordination among the 5 defendants was nothing short of chilling. It was clear they came to Tampa with one purpose: to kill. Yet, the reckless, almost amateurish sloppiness of their operational security not only made the prosecution's job far easier, but also exposed something even more disturbing. These suspects were either so intoxicated by bloodlust or so crazy confident in their ability to escape justice that they didn't bother to hide the trail of evidence they left behind. As the night went on, the hunters moved with cold, steady focus, like they had all the time in the world. It just goes to show how far these dudes were willing to go to make sure Theo didn't make it out alive. They weren't about to just sit back and hope for a shot. Nah, they were on his trail, following him from spot to spot, watching how he moved, checking his security, and waiting for that one slip up, that perfect moment to hit. That moment came at 4:15 in the morning. Jones began to head to a hotel on McKinley. One of the suspect vehicles was seen following the victim. However, instead of following them into a parking lot, they staged across the street. The tactical positioning revealed military-style planning. They didn't rush in recklessly, but instead took strategic positions that would maximize their advantage and minimize their exposure. What happened next was captured on surveillance cameras, providing prosecutors with footage so clear and damning that it essentially turned the courtroom into a movie theater, screening the final moments of a young man's life. 3 shooters exited a vehicle and walked in the direction of the hotel. They murdered Jones with a handgun and 2 rifles. This barrage of gunfire also struck 3 additional victims who miraculously survived this incident. The video evidence is so damning that law enforcement officials couldn't hide their disgust when presenting it to the media. He's the right front passenger in that vehicle. It's clear from that video what they were set out to do and what they had planned to do. The investigation would later reveal that the three armed shooters were Sean Githright, Richard Murphy, and Devon Murphy. But what makes this case particularly chilling isn't just the cold-blooded nature of the execution. It's what happened immediately afterward. While Theo lay dying in a Tampa hotel parking lot while his friends fought for their lives, while his mother received the phone call that every parent dreads, one of his killers was already celebrating. The message that would later become central to the prosecution's case was sent from Sean Githight's phone, but attributed to Rashad Murphy, one of the alleged shooters. The text sent just hours after the murder read, "I'm coming home. My thirst is quenched. Pop a bottle of Don Julio today." The callousness of this message cannot be overstated. The phrase "thirst is quenched" is interpreted as indicating satisfaction or fulfillment of a motive, likely revenge, following Foolio's death. The reference to Don Julio is seen as a disrespectful nod to Foolio's stage name, Julio Foolio, adding a layer of callousness to the message. The investigation that followed would reveal the depth of the conspiracy and the gang connections that motivated the killing. Detectives believe that the ATK and the 12,200 worked together to target Jones as part of an ongoing feud in Jacksonville. This wasn't just a Jacksonville problem that had traveled to Tampa. It was a coordinated effort by multiple criminal organizations to eliminate what they saw as a threat. All 5 suspects face first-degree murder charges, with the state seeking the death penalty for the 4 male suspects. While Andrews, who was pregnant at the time of her arrest, revealed in court in September 2024, is not subject to capital punishment. The decision to seek the ultimate penalty reflects not just the heinous nature of the crime, but the calculated way in which it was carried out. The arrest of the suspects revealed just how sloppy their planning had been, despite their tactical execution of the murder itself. The evidence collected by investigators painted a picture of individuals who were simultaneously sophisticated enough to plan and execute a complex murder, yet foolish enough to leave a digital trail that would inevitably lead to their capture. Detectives used footage from the scene, license plate readers, and phone logs to identify 2 vehicles and link them back to the suspects. But perhaps the most revealing piece of evidence was the attitude displayed by the suspects after their arrest. Alicia Andrews told police she let the other suspects use her phone to communicate, denying knowledge of their plan to kill Foolio. This claim of ignorance seems almost insulting given the level of coordination required to track someone across multiple locations in an unfamiliar city and then execute them with military precision. The impact of Foolio's death extended far beyond the immediate tragedy of a young life cut short. Law enforcement officials used the moment to send a clear message to anyone who might consider similar acts of violence. I want to send a clear message to anyone that the city of Tampa is not where you want to come to settle a dispute. You will be charged, you will be arrested, and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent possible. But this wasn't just a senseless act of violence. It was the latest chapter in a long and bloody saga that had been festering beneath the surface for years. The investigation and courtroom drama, the wheels of justice began turning slowly but deliberately in the aftermath of Julio Foolio's murder, and what emerged in the courtroom proceedings would shock even those familiar with the brutal realities of gang violence. The suspects who had planned and executed such a calculated killing would soon find themselves facing the ultimate penalty under Florida law. But their behavior in court would reveal a level of arrogance and callousness that defied comprehension. The initial court appearances were procedural affairs, but they set the tone for what would become a complex legal battle involving multiple defendants, each with their own attorneys and their own strategies for avoiding the death penalty that the state was aggressively pursuing. The arraignment proceedings revealed the methodical approach that prosecutors would take in building their case. All 5 of these defendants are facing life in the Florida State Prison, even the ones who didn't pull the trigger in Florida. If you participate in the planning of a murder, you can be held accountable for the person's death. And that is what we intend to do here. This wasn't just about the 3 individuals who physically pulled the triggers. It was about dismantling the entire conspiracy that had made Foolio's murder possible. The evidence that prosecutors began presenting painted a picture of defendants who were not only unrepentant, but seemed to view their actions as something